Drake Maye, the New England Patriots starting quarterback. It took a while to hear it, but it only took 5 weeks of Jacoby Brissett to decide that it was time for the Patriots to give the reins over to Drake Maye. It probably wasn't the greatest timing of throwing him out there against Houston in that defense, but at some point it was going to happen anyways. And at the end of the day, there's a reason that the Patriots drafted him 3rd overall. We've already seen a ton of promise and success from Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels, the 2 picks right before Drake Maye. The Bears and Commanders took those 2, and that left the Patriots with the chance to take Drake. He was the clear choice there, with just how bad the Patriots needed a quarterback. Of course, quarterback was quite literally the most secure position in New England for a very long time with Tom Brady. But once he dipped for the Buccaneers, it's been a completely different era of quarterback play in New England. Bill Belichick essentially tried to put a band-aid on the position by signing Cam Newton, who just simply wasn't the player he once was during his good times with the Panthers. It had just been too long, and he wasn't very good at that point. He ended up throwing for 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Not exactly the best stat line. In the next year, the Patriots drafted Mac Jones.
Right foot creep, walking with that heater.
And man, did it feel like he was actually going to be the guy of the future for the Pats. At face value, he did look like a guy who was handmade in a factory for the Patriots system. And that factory was, of course, Alabama, led by Nick Saban. Mac really did just come in and play super well for the Patriots. The system was just set up well for him. As a rookie, he threw for 22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, and he was good enough to get the Patriots into the postseason and get absolutely blown out. And unfortunately, that was the best Mac Jones that we ever saw in New England. He declined in 2022 with 14 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. But that was nothing compared to 2023, where he was just horrible and there was nothing but drama surrounding him. He went 2-9 in games that he started and had 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. It was a terrible season, and that was enough for New England. Mac ended up getting shipped off to the Jaguars, where he's now the backup for Trevor Lawrence. Now, luckily, with just how bad that year was, it did help the Patriots land the 3rd overall pick that eventually got them Drake Maye, who was long expected to be one of the best quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL Draft. For a long time, the expectation was that Caleb Williams and Drake Maye would go back-to-back at the draft. But Jayden Daniels just came out of nowhere with that incredible season and won the Heisman Trophy. And clearly, Washington feels pretty good about their decision looking back. He's on a roll, and he and CJ Stroud have really killed what rookie quarterback expectations look like. They have now both stepped right into their offenses as rookies and looked like one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And that's just not normal. Caleb started off a bit slower, but now he's even playing well. Drake, though, doesn't need to come out of the gate playing amazing. He's a rookie quarterback, and he's super young at 22 years old. He can take his time, and he did get some time to learn behind Jacoby Brissett, but that time is over now. It's now Drake's turn to lead this team. It goes without saying that deciding to start Drake Maye against the Texans for his NFL debut was a bit of an odd decision. I mean, sure, Brissett was struggling, but usually the best timing for a rookie is in a manageable matchup, not against a ruthless defense. It really does feel like the Patriots were throwing Drake out to the Wolves. It's usually rocky for every rookie quarterback, but it's no secret that the weapons around Drake are probably the worst for any rookie quarterback. For starters, the offensive line is just a mess. Gerard Mayo probably, or I at least hope so, thinks that it's in a better spot now if he feels comfortable throwing Drake behind it, but it's in terrible shape. It's not simple, it's not good, and it's gotten even worse. The Patriots are playing quite the game of musical chairs on the line. So of course, the best time to throw out rookie Drake Maye is against Will Anderson instead of last week against the Dolphins or next week against the terrible Jags. Maybe it doesn't make perfect sense. But hey, I mean, Caleb Williams has a bad offensive line too, but here's the thing. Caleb's line is playing a bit better than expected. And oh yeah, he actually has weapons around him. Drake doesn't. The Patriots' #1 wide receiver currently is probably Jalen Polk, a 2nd-round rookie. He had just 9 catches in 5 games with Brissett starting. Not exactly the most inspiring wide receiver 1. The good news is that Kendrick Bourne is back. He was out for a while, and he'll just be a huge help for the offense. I mean, he certainly would have helped Brissett if he was out there. He's a solid receiver who's not exactly incredible, but in theory, he knows the system and can be a reliable safety blanket for whoever's behind center. The only wide receiver to have over 100 100 yards receiving with Brissett was actually Demario Douglas, a second-year 6th-round pick. He is probably the most talented receiver currently on the roster, but the Patriots' real top receiving threat has been tight end Hunter Henry, who had 180 yards with Brissett playing. And now the hope is that those numbers will be a lot better with Drake Maye playing for the rest of the year. The new era has officially started with Drake Maye taking over, and really this year has been all about new eras. No more Mac Jones, but even bigger, no more Bill Belichick. Him and Brady were incredible together, and they were absolutely one of the best tandems in NFL history. But there's no secret that Belichick really fell apart after Brady left. He immediately turned around and went 7-9 and missed the playoffs. Then of course the Patriots did make it the next year with Mac Jones, but they've recently missed back-to-back years and only won 4 games last season. That's really a stretch that we couldn't have imagined a decade ago. But I guess that was enough for Robert Kraft. It's the Gerard Mayo show now. A guy who once played for Belichick and has long been an assistant under Belichick. And now he's the head coach. And there isn't exactly a great team around him to coach. That's been pretty evident to start this season. Now, expectations coming into week 1 of this season were extremely low. As long as Joe Burrow is a Bengal, we expect them to be pretty good. But they looked awful in week 1. The Patriots actually ended up winning 16-10, and the defense just shut down Joe Burrow. It was a sign that maybe the Patriots were a lot better than we thought they were coming into this season, and that was still the case in week 2. They took the Seahawks to overtime, and it was a hard-fought loss where they looked pretty good. But then the wheels just fell completely off. The Patriots just haven't even sort of looked like the same team ever since. They lost 24-3 to the Jets on Thursday Night Football, who literally just fired Robert Saleh because they were so bad. They followed it up by getting blown out by the 49ers 30-13, and last week the Patriots lost 15-10 to the Dolphins, who quite literally don't have a quarterback. No Tua Tagovailoa, and they've just been absolutely terrible, and they still walked into New England and beat the Patriots. And I gotta say, that's really a good sign of just how bad Jacoby Brissett has played. He hasn't been able to move the ball well and only threw 2 touchdowns in 5 games as the starter. That's just not enough in the NFL, and it's exactly why the Patriots decided to move on to Drake Maye, even if it was against the Texans. The reality is, Drake Maye did look like a rookie at times during this game, just as you'd expect, but man, he also looked really good at times. The Patriots, yeah, they got blown out, which was definitely expected. The Texans won 41-21, but it feels pretty important to note that the Patriots did score 21 points. The situation is certainly still bad, but it really does feel like they're already moving the ball a lot better with Drake Maye behind center. It didn't take too long for him to throw his first passing touchdown of the season, and it was actually a beauty to Kayshon Boutte, who, by the way, didn't even have a touchdown yet in the pros before this. Drake spread it out really well, and he threw 2 more touchdowns to Hunter Henry and Demario Douglas. He was 20 of 33 for 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. But he is a rookie at the end of the day, and his first interception was certainly an example of that. He just absolutely sailed Demario Douglas, and it was pretty ugly. It wasn't a great play, but it happens. The other pick really wasn't that much of a concern to me. It was really just a rusher that got a deflection off the block and put the ball up in the air, and the Texans somehow came down with it. So I really don't blame Drake in that situation. Really, it's nothing to worry about. But the reality is, he is a rookie. He's going to make those silly, stupid mistakes. At the end of the day, he just needs to continue to develop and get better. And on the bright side, Drake did look like a guy who's benefited from sitting and learning on the sideline through 5 weeks. He showed a ton of promise in his first start, and I'm starting to believe again.